I'm Mike Munro.
I'm Jennifer Byrne.
I'm Ian Leslie.
I'm Jeff McMullen.
And I'm Jana Vent. Those stories happen to add up to 999, 1000 and 1001 tonight on 60 Minutes. Australia's TV industry has been going through some pretty stormy weather lately, with major shake-ups in ownership and networking arrangements. All commercial channels are affected, but the one that's come out worst, at least for the moment, is HSV7 in Melbourne. That station has become a kind of symbol of viewer resistance to seeing too many changes too quickly on their TV screens. In particular, Melburnians don't like the thought of having Sydney programs and programming decisions shoved in their faces. That and the firing of a popular local newsreader are among Seven's deadly sins.
And in fact, we still have Miss Australia with us in Leanne Cock and Leanne Dick, I should say. And Leanne, it's going to be very interesting to...
Well, we've had just a little bit of trouble at the moment. The machine has jammed with the trots in it. And
these are the highlights, or lowlights, of a program more Melbourne than Moomba.
And the soccer scene, Fred Villiers. Well, we'll get...
Well, no, here's Fred. He's just been out bouncing the ball.
Where is he?
Here, Fred.
Thanks very much. Well, the story in the soccer scene is simply this, that Southampton...
It may not have been a great program, but it was Melbourne's program.
Well, it's good to be back. Obviously, things have happened since I've been away for a couple of weeks. However... Yes, it is.
Now, World of Sport has run its last race. Just one casualty of a $312 million takeover of Channel 7 Melbourne by Sydney's Fairfax organisation.
I obviously need makeup very badly.
People really liked the simplistic sort of family attitude that Channel 7 had with it. The way that they did the program was really quite unprofessional.
We used to lay in bed and watch World of Sport, and it was fantastic on Sunday, and they've lost so many viewers.
Did you used to watch Channel 7?
Yes.
But you don't now?
No.
Will you ever watch it again?
Never.
We're heading into several days of on-again, off-again showers.
Thank you, mate.
Not only was World of Sport lost to the people, but also Channel 7's veteran newsreader, Mal Walden. His news was a ratings loser, but when he finally said goodbye, Melbourne choked back the tears.
There's little more to say other than thank you for your loyalty over the past 17 years, and in particular the last 9 years here. Take care. Good night.
And he cried, my wife cried, you know, the whole Melbourne cried, because he lost his job. He was one of the best newsreaders, and he still is, as far as we're concerned.
Whatever the facts of the matter, this is what Melbourne believes happened. The Sydney Fairfax bosses, known here as the Princes of Darkness, descended and painfully extracted the Melbourne out of the most Melbourne station of them all. Through Melbourne's eyes, HSV was about to become a puppet with its strings pulled by, horror of horrors, Sydney.
We were seen as the big baddies, the Princes of Darkness coming from Sydney and shaking up an institution, HSV, which was Melbourne, and that's what they didn't like.
Sydney 7 News executive Phil Davis.
I mean, we disturbed a comfortable club, and Melbourne didn't like that.
I watch Channel 7 till the news comes on.
Till the news comes on?
Yeah, then I switch it off.
It doesn't have that feeling about, you know, that really Melburnian feeling.
It doesn't have that really Melburnian feeling?
No.
Suddenly, amongst common and garden variety citizens, 7 became number non grata. And indignation reached the highest levels, even as far as the state's premier citizen, Kane.
It isn't just a Melbourne-Sydney rivalry thing, it's much deeper than that. I mean, why should we, a city of 3 million people, with 4 commercial channels, have a situation where almost entirely the television we receive comes out of Sydney?
Tell some news from Melbourne.
But if the Sydney-controlled HSV7 is unpopular now, even in the good old days, it could never claim to have been a ratings winner. It appears that what was important to Melbourne was not watching Channel 7, but simply knowing it was there.
7 National News with Greg Pearce.
Good evening, everyone.
Melbourne viewers' specific target is Seven's news. Tens of thousands of them have turned off. From respectable double figures, ratings have bottomed out at 1s and 2s. That puts new newsreader Greg Pearce from Perth on a popularity par with a test pattern.
It was a real shock.
So what is it like when you sit at this desk every night and realise that more people are turning off than are turning on?
I guess it's a vote, in a way, that Melbourne people, for some reason, the word network has been bandied around so much. A lot of people I've spoken to actually are surprised that I'm in Melbourne. They think I'm in Sydney reading the news.
And while Premier Kane denies his good citizens are being unfriendly to their Perth visitor, it hardly helps a newsreader's public image when he's referred to this way.
If there is a viewer resistance, I think with great respect to Greg, whose name I've forgotten.
Pearce.
Greg Pearce. It isn't because of Greg.
Welcome to Melbourne, Sydney's newest suburb.
While the good folk of the greatest town in Australia are crying in their beer, it's almost sacrilegious and most certainly dangerous to make the point that Melbourne's other two commercial television stations, 9 and 10, have been programmed from Sydney for years.
Melbourne being run by a Sydney TV station, you know, it's about as popular as Australia being run by the English, you know, it's the same thing.
They're pouring poop on us, but we're undeterred.
Phil Davis, current affairs chieftain behind a string of successes. Firstly, Michael Willisey, and now with brother Terry. This Sydney-sider has suddenly found himself about as popular in Melbourne as Channel 7 itself.
And Melbourne being Melbourne, I mean, we interfered with some of their sacred cows down here, and I thought, you just don't do that to us. If you do that to us, you pay, and now we're paying.
OK, so should you have known that Melbourne was that kind of city?
Yes, we did.
But you did what you did.
Some things have to be done. A man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Let me go! Keep going! Keep going! Keep going! Keep driving! Hey!
Whatever dastardly deeds Sydney management are being accused of, their most obvious mistake was misjudging Melbourne's mean mood. Inside HSV, feelings were running so deeply that this tape was smuggled out to us. A brutal send-up of Channel 7's old station advertisement.
We won't take it lying down for the sake of Melbourne town. We're gonna get right up and try. We want Melbourne to stand and yell. Networking can go to hell.
Network television is here to stay. It's got to be. There's no other way to go. And if it means the loss of jobs, I'm sorry, but it has to be.
Graham Kennedy, the long-reigning king of television, says his old hometown is simply spitting the dummy.
Well, you know, 30 years ago, perhaps this kind of thing might have happened, but it's 1987, and I think Melbourne should pull its socks up and join the rest of Australia.
Good evening, everyone.
But despite Graham Kennedy, Melbourne sees ex-newsreader Mal Walden as a martyr to a Sydney conspiracy, the last of the big names to leave or be pushed from Channel 7.
People in Melbourne, the people that I know, love the sort of things they can relate to. They love going to the football on a Saturday, they love the old trams, they love the old buildings, they love the parks and gardens. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they do all these things. They don't go to the football every Saturday and they don't go to the parks and gardens every week or even ride a tram, but they seem to like to know that they're there in case they need them.
You liked Mel Walden?
Yes, I did, really. I
You
always
liked
watched
him?
Channel 7 News.
Really?
Yes.
And now you're not watching Channel 7 News?
No.
You think you might go back to them, or they're
I
gone?
doubt it at this stage.
In the quirky world of television, almost all of Melbourne's news personalities started at 7. There's Brian Naylor, who now reads news for 9.
Well, the problem, I think, is that what they have done has made it so difficult for what they've now got to do. I mean, when you plunge a sword that deeply into anyone's body and soul, then the recuperation period, I think, inevitably is a very long and painful experience.
And there's David Johnston, news director and news reader at Channel 10.
Good evening. Mel Walden, obviously, as far as their news figures concerned, was a large percentage of their figures. If they were rating 15, he may have been worth 12. So what they might have done is thrown the baby out with the bathwater.
As Melbourne switched off 7, they turned on to Johnston's NewsHour in droves, now featuring a new segment with their new Melbourne reporter, Mal Walden.
Instruments. A special group of people have banded together to provide a little bit of pleasure to just about anyone who cares to listen.
Why do thousands, tens of thousands of people switch across from a station that they've probably been watching for 15 years?
Well, I guess it's got something to do with the Sydney-Melbourne relationship. You know, I mean, Sydney people are descendant from the, you know, the Botany Bay convicts or the New South Wales Rum Corps. And we down here are free settlers. Now we're being told what to do by the convicts. I mean, that riles people, I guess.
So on Terry Willisey tomorrow night...
Strangely enough, while boycotting 7's news, Melbourne has been tuning in to network programs like Terry Willisey Tonight, coming down the line from Sydney.
Tomorrow at 7. Thanks for your company. See you same time tomorrow night at 7. Bye for now.
Thanks from HSV.
Pretty hot in here tonight.
And even television eccentric Clive Robertson has found favour with Melbourne.
I received this in the mail. I just thought you might like to see this. Oh, to that camera, there you are. Network 7, Buster, yes. Save Melbourne Television. Right, I just thought I'd mention that in case you're wondering.
This tape, again, smuggled out to us.
Authorised by the AT&AEA. What is that?
Robertson's comments on the Troubles never made it to air.
Why?
Their new owners have paid hundreds of millions of dollars for some of Australia's commercial TV stations. And for that kind of money, like any businessman, they expect to be able to hire and fire and change what needs to be changed. But what makes corporate takeovers in television interesting is that they depend for their success not only on money, but on people. And in this business, if you can't please most of the people most of the time, then all of the millions in the world won't save you.
I think it's a great lesson to us all that we've got to be kind to our viewers. They control our futures, don't they? And they've reacted very strongly in this case.
There's more news in HSV now for Melbourne people than there ever was before.
Do you think that the Melbourne people listening to you say that believe you?
No.
Channel 7 in Melbourne, target of a viewer protest over networking with Sydney.
Welcome to Melbourne, Sydney's newest suburb.
Some sympathy from this Sydney viewer. Congratulations to the people of Melbourne. Why should they watch the third-rate programs which pass for news and current affairs that we have to put up with in Sydney? But then again, my heart bleeds for the Victorians. Poor souls. Now they know how we feel about their trying to dominate our football. I'm Jeff McMullen. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.